Are there any kind of metrics, like what would you look for to basically be able to say, SEO is not really going to be worth it for you? For example, I'm working with mainly B2B brands and, obviously there's a ton of variety there. So like if a service provider came up to me, like one of my peers, like, oh, I'm looking for SEO, I would tell them it's probably not worth it. You're like, you're too small. But I'm trying to figure out like, where is that line and kind of what should I be looking at?
That's a very good question, Rebecca. And this can be applied two ways. It can either be applied at like the website level, right? Like brand new website, single product, stuff like that. Or it could be applied at the industry level, right? Which I've been talking more and more about. I just filmed another video talking about SaaS. But then also there's a caveat to it because sometimes prospects have come to you and made up their mind about like they want to do SEO. They've tried other things and they want to do it. I don't want to say I'll always take their money, but like if they're coming to us and they're like, we want to do SEO, we've got the other stuff in handle, even if I don't think it's a great fit, there's still wins that you can provide to them that might not. I look at everything from like an ROI, customer acquisition point of view, because as a business owner myself, like that's what I'm always focused on. But there's a lot of businesses out there that aren't really focused on that, or it's not overly important to them. There's certain things that they want to do. So I'll say that because it's a caveat, because sometimes people just want to do it. And even if I'm like, you have a brand new website with no authority and you're competing against giants, there's still wins that we can get them, right? There's still traffic that we can get them. There's still things that we can do that are going to technically improve their organic search. Cliff just mentioned, yeah, some of us just want great content marketing. I agree. Some people, especially B2B brands, they just want great content. They're not necessarily focused on leads. They're focused on picking up traffic. There's all sorts of benefits to it too. And there's ways you can spin it and pitch it. For example, in the B2B space, depends on it and on like the sub niche of B2B. But like one of the things that I'll always kind of spin and pitch to them is that I am a firm believer. I know a lot of people are like, oh, traffic for the sake of traffic is stupid. But I'm like, well, if you know what you're doing and you're building good content and it's ranking for keywords that people are in market for, right? Putting themselves in market, searching for things about CRMs, like circling the drain on pricing, those, if you can get people to the website for that and have a good marketing practice and program, that's traffic that becomes a very valuable remarketing asset. It's literally, we spend thousands and thousands of dollars building audiences on Facebook and Twitter just to remarket to them to make offers, because that's where conversions come from. So if someone were to come to me with a great pitch and be like, hey, I know you're spending a lot of money on like warming up audiences. Have you thought about like content marketing and SEO? There's a lot of low-hanging fruit opportunities that are going to drive a lot of qualified people to your website, even though they might not be looking for a CRM right now. There's intent triggers that we can use, right, and decipher that's going to put people in market, introduce them to your brand, and then drastically improve and lower the cost of your acquisition through paid. That's like a huge pitch that I'll usually give to people too, especially like when we're doing a lot of B2B SaaS, right? I'll kind of pitch them on, because there's a lot of companies out there that understand that a lot of content marketing, they're like, yeah, we got a lot of traffic, but like we didn't get a lot of leads. Well, it's like, okay, well, what were you doing with that traffic? Were you like putting some sort of conversion mechanism to capture emails with an ebook and build your email list and then try and convert them that way? Were you remarketing on Facebook? Were you using RLSA ads? Like all these different things, right? That I push a lot of people, and I talk about it publicly, that SEO is like, we really need to be thinking more holistically in terms of marketing and acquisition in order for us to maintain our position in the market, right? So I know that didn't answer your question. I want to get back to the initial question that you asked. So are you asking, how do I dequalify somebody from SEO that comes to me? Okay.
Yeah. So like as an example, I mean, and you kind of answered it. I had pretty much a new e-commerce client who in some ways is a great fit for like the niche that I'm working in. Her business has been around for like a year, and there's like a little bit of organic traffic, and she's decided like, I need SEO. That's the missing ingredient. And so I told her like, okay, well, have you tried paid advertising? Like that's really important as well. And like I was kind of mentioning other things, and she's like, yeah, so she's like sort of got a plan of different things. So I'm like, if she wants to work with me on like some SEO strategy, like I think she could still get a lot of value out of it. But I want to make sure I'm not selling them something that's just like not gonna be worth it for them.
I got it now. So I mean, so first, that's like kind of what I was talking about when somebody comes to you and they're like, they've self-selected that they want to do it,
right?
Which is happening less and less, because I do think SEO gets drowned out by other channels, right? Especially like a TikTok for e-commerce, something like that. But if that's the case, you have to make sure that expectations up front are clear. And that's how you protect your backside basically once you engage in something, so they don't come back in 3 months be like, yo, Rebecca, what the hell? Why aren't I getting any sales? It's like, well, we talked about this, right? Like the goal isn't necessarily direct acquisition, it's indirect acquisition, and it's building audiences, and it's pushing to your, so like whatever that looks like, right? But for me, we get a lot of leads, and I disqualify a lot of leads just off rip for us, because we don't do a lot of e-commerce. And one question that I always ask myself, and again, this just reframes things, that if I'm always in an acquisition mindset, and if the customer is in an acquisition mindset, then I always ask myself, if I search for your keyword, like, is there an opportunity for people to find your website and purchase from that search? right? And a lot of the times it's no. Because if, you know, especially with smaller e-com brands that don't have a lot of products, they don't have the benefit of like capturing long tails on color or like sizing or like brand, or, you know, I'm looking for a new watch actually. And the way that I'm searching for the watch is like kind of continuously refining it more and more and more based on the brand, based on the color, based on the face type, kind of very particular about what I want. And I'm discovering a whole bunch of new websites, and actually bought from a jeweler that had exactly what I wanted. So if you don't have that, if it's not that type of e-com, or if they don't have that many products, if it's like a lot of young e-com shops where it's like one or two products that in a very competitive space, like I actually have a consulting client that does like men's skincare, and they have 2 SKUs, and I'm like, yo, you can't do SEO. You just can't, like, it just cannot rank. And even if we did content marketing, like what's the value really going to be there? So I actually pushed them to TikTok. They hired a full-time content creator, and now they're crushing it off of TikTok. And now they actually came back to me like 6 months to a year later and said, now people are searching for our brand a lot and we're not showing up the way that we want. Like, can you help us to, you know, get the site structure together, like all that stuff. And that is a great example of like indirect acquisition, right? Where there's different levels of goals to SEO, but they have to be kind of at that level. So it's really, really tough with a brand new startup e-commerce website. But again, like if you see a pathway, if you think you can help them, that's kind of all that matters. And if as long as you set the expectations up front about what realistic benchmarks are in terms of growth, then I don't find it to be irresponsible at all to take on a client like that at all.